In this video, I will be sharing each of my biggest takeaways from each video of empowering speech directives from this week. Starting off with number 3, Mr. Smith starts by asking what the most important thing a public speaker can do. He says that whenever people ask him that question, often at parties, he always gives the same answer: prepare, prepare, and prepare. That really stood out to me because it shows me that preparation isn't just important, it is everything when it comes to speech. He also references our class textbook on page 4, where it explains that time management is the foundation of speech. If you don't manage your time well, you're going to rush your speech, forget important details, and end up feeling stressed. This message made me realize that giving a good speech doesn't begin with you standing in front of the class and speaking. It actually begins the days before, where you start researching, organizing your ideas, practicing, and making improvements before you go up and do it. I think this lesson applies to much more than just public speaking. I feel that whether it's school, sports, work, or life in general, the people who prepare the most learn the most. And personally, I've learned that whenever I wait until last minute, I tend to feel really nervous and less confident. But when I give myself enough time to prepare, I feel much more confident and ready. Therefore, I feel this directive reminded me that preparation builds confidence, and confidence helps you feel better and will help you become a better speaker. Next is number 4. My biggest takeaway from number 4 was a story that Mr. Smith told about a former student he had taught almost 30 years ago. He described her as a girl that was always on time and was always dressed like she was ready for the nightclub. He says that one day when giving a speech, she walked to the front of the room and said, "It's soft, it's wet, and it's warm." He said that right away everyone in the room became curious because no one had an idea as to what she was going to say next. He then says that she reached into her brown paper bag and grabbed a handful of cooked spaghetti and threw it against the wall. He then says that she walked over to the wall and said that this spaghetti will stay here for my entire presentation. She then introduced her topic by saying, "Today we're going to learn how to properly prepare pasta." I think this story is a perfect example of how important it is to grab your audience's attention immediately. Instead of starting with something boring or predictable, she created curiosity. She made everyone want to know what was happening next. That's something I hope to remember when I give a speech. If you can capture your audience in the first few seconds, they'll be much more likely to stay interested for the rest of your presentation. This video also told me that being creative can make a speech much more memorable. Years later, Mr. Smith still remembers that presentation, which shows how powerful a strong opening can truly be. In directive number 5, my biggest takeaway is when Mr. Smith talked about writing a letter to the CEO of Omega regarding his watch that had stopped working. If I'm being honest, I've always felt like communicating with people who are in positions of power is usually a waste of time because I often feel that they won't listen or even care to what it is that I'm saying. But hearing this story changed the way I think about that. Mr. Smith explained that he carefully planned his letter, organized his thoughts, and took the time to write it professionally instead of just complaining. Because of the effort he put into communicating clearly and respectfully, the CEO actually responded to him. That made me realize something important. Maybe the reason people don't always listen isn't because of what I'm saying being unimportant, but maybe it's because I need to communicate my message more effectively. The way we say something can just be, how do I say this? The way we say something can be just as important as what we say. This lesson I feel applies to work, school, and everyday life. I feel that if we prepare our thoughts, stay respectful, and explain ourselves clearly, people are much more likely to listen. This story showed me that good communication can open doors to something you could have never imagined. And look at Mr. Smith. He now has a $10,000 watch just from writing a letter and sharing his thoughts in a respectable manner. Next is directive number 6. Something that really caught my attention in directive number 6 was when Mr. Smith said that there will always be people in your audience who look like they'd rather be at the dentist than listening to your speech. He explained that we don't know what some people are going through, whether they're stressed or dealing with something very personal or maybe just even tired. And because of that, he said we shouldn't let those people affect our confidence. Instead, he encouraged us to find the happy faces in the room and focus on the people who are paying attention. This lesson really connected with me because I've experienced that during presentations throughout high school. I'll spend time preparing my speech and feel excited to present, but then I'll notice a few people looking bored or talking or even just closing their eyes with their head down. And as soon as I see that, I start doubting myself. I lose confidence and sometimes I rush through my presentation. Hearing Mr. Smith explain that not everyone in the room is a reflection of how you're doing helped me change my perspective. From now on, I want to focus on people who are engaged instead of worrying about those who aren't. Therefore, focusing on the happy faces. If I keep my attention on the audience members who are listening, I'll be able to stay confident, deliver my speech more effectively, and make a stronger connection with those who are truly invested in listening to me. And finally, number 7. My biggest takeaway from directive number 7 was a story that Mr. Smith shared about a young Latina woman he had once taught at Antelope Valley College. She told him that she was once working as a bank teller for the Bank of America when her manager took the staff to a conference. During that conference, someone needed to give a short 1 to 3 minute speech about the Bank of America Palmdale branch. She mentioned that her manager looked nervous and that he looked to his employees and asked for a volunteer, and that usually an employee will give the speech. She said that no one raised her hand. And she said that since she had taken Mr. Smith's speech class and believed in her job and liked her boss, that she would decide to step forward and give the presentation. Later, she told Mr. Smith that she was no longer working as a bank teller with Bank of America. Instead, she had become a speaker for Bank of America, traveling and giving presentations everywhere, or earning much more than she had before as a teller. This story really inspired me because it shows how public speaking can completely change someone's life. One decision to step outside her comfort zone and create a new career opportunity that she probably would have never expected. It reminded me that opportunities don't always come handed to you, but sometimes you make opportunities out of nothing. If you prepare and are willing to take a chance, amazing things can happen. The biggest lesson I learned from this story is that sometimes all it takes is believing in yourself and trying your best. And sometimes trying your best is all you really need. Thank you for listening.